At 9 points, nobody wins, nobody loses.
Yeah.
So is a tie like kissing your sister? Now, if you happen to be on the side of the Texans in that ball game, you caught a miracle.
Yes.
And if you were already counting your money, you were standing in line at the window going, 2,000 on the Chiefs. You feel like a fucking asshole. Sportsbook managers looking at it and you go, we're giving everybody their money back who had it at 9. But the call was justified. So you take all of the risk out of that play if you're Andy Reid. If you had it at 8.5, you're feeling pretty good. Chiefs, are they vulnerable? Maybe. Or are they getting such favorable officiating?
Yes.
Lubie, that it's to the point where there should be some kind of an investigation launched. I don't know. Is this a Taylor Swift conspiracy type of thing? We'll probably hear more about that at the inauguration today when Trump goes into, you know what? I fucking had the Texans on the money line.
Exactly.
See, now that would maybe endear me to the idea that emboldened me that maybe the next 4 years wouldn't be so rough. I always liked it when Barack Obama was doing brackets, although he was a cock-eating motherfucker.
He was horrendous at it.
With all the favorites. Okay. Hey, Michelle, does this guy pick anything but favorites?
The time.
Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Very pleasant. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a Degenerate Friday edition of the Defo Show. I'm Jeff DeForest, and the traveling man over there, I see some bags packed in the background there. I actually thought when we were at Gilbert's yesterday and I sat down, I got there just before post time for the show. I was in a little bit of a rush there. I just made it in time. And I see some suitcases right by the seat that I'm in. And I thought, geez, Lubie, you're going to pull one of those deals like we used to do on the radio.
Yeah.
Where you'd have somebody show up at Bootleggers, and there'd be an oil wrestling competition, and whoever won would end up having to immediately get on a cruise ship or a plane. And they would have to bring their bags. And that was always a lot of fun, a great aspect of that particular type of contest. We don't have that kind of fun anymore, do we? Just pure, raw Animal House type of joy. Maybe we should have listened to Kamala. I don't know. And I really have to be careful now, Lou, because that's not the first time that I made some Trump-like allusion, which I mean, it just, if it wasn't so sad, it would be bold comedy, wouldn't it? That you had a guy get into office and immediately, like a race, hundreds of years, a couple of hundred years of U.S. history and diplomacy and constitutional law, and just throw it right out the window. And so I'm going to have to be careful about making these references because you never know who's a Trumpy.
Oh, no. Well, I was wondering if you took whatever I told you and whatever you did nothing wrong.
No.
I just didn't want. I've been with you long enough to know if I give you little hints here and there, you usually take it.
Oh, that's it. I mean, you know, you don't want to get in some kind of an
you
argument.
haven't done anything wrong. You can talk. Don't be scared to talk. Yeah, look,
yeah.
What are you going to do? Like, that's my thing. It's okay if we live the way things are going.
If we live through this, that's a good way to preface.
I wasn't even saying. I wasn't going there. I was saying, like, if things go the way they go, we're going to be forced to live like that, right? So until we get there, I'm not going to watch every fucking word I say. So I wasn't even trying to. So I hope if you took it that way, I'm so sorry.
I didn't. I'm just thinking. I think you're right. I mean, you just never know.
You don't ever know, but I also don't think you can't. Look, you can't.
I'm torn on this, though, Libby.
You can't go balls to the wall, but I agree with. I think you're like. I think you still have to say things. Like, you can make jokes. I'm
reluctant. I'll tell you this. I'm a little reluctant. I had been up until recently. I just said, you know what, fuck it. And I've always, anybody to put up a post that was alluding to the fact during the campaign, especially, that the guy was a maniac and a unhinged lunatic with the 2025 agenda clearly earmarked to be instituted immediately, if not sooner. Well, once they got day one, as he kept talking about. And now the people are, all of this stuff about egg prices and that. Look, there's a bird flu out there, which now the MAGites won't want to deny and make sure that you don't know anything about that. But meanwhile, like, eggs are going to be $10 a dozen. Okay, I mean, supply and demand, and the supply is going to be low. That's understandable. That happens. It's basic economics 101.
Yes, I learned.
So what are you going to do? I mean, so I wouldn't even blame. I mean, I'm not going to look at the Trump administration and say, hey, well, wait a minute, they're responsible for this bird flu outbreak.
Oh, no.
But unfortunately, this has become the symbol, the barometer by which success or failure as an administrator is being judged when it comes to the president, the price of an egg.
I mean, come on.
And the election was sort of hinging, I mean, at least somewhat symbolically on that, was it not?
Bingo. That's the word. You said it, because have you heard one person from that side talk about prices?
No,
Everybody just said it.
we're all going to be screwed. I mean, and that's going to happen. It's inevitable with the way
There's
these
no way it's
policies are being instituted.
not.
But you know, I mean, and I remember when this whole thing started in 2016 with Trump running for president, and we were almost comically critical of what was happening, and you would get edict after edict from the management at iHeartMedia: don't talk politics. You're a sports.
Yep.
And I've always felt, hey, listen, people should know where you're coming from.
Yep.
If they don't like it, that's fine. And then you can tell me I'm an asshole, and I'll tolerate, the insult and see if there's any. Look, I get the New York Post every day. No one reads more right wing propaganda than I do.
You're ready.
It's
You
the
know
truth.
before it gets to the news, what's coming out.
It couldn't be any more. I mean, the letters to the editor are 19-1 in favor of the pardons being given to the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys. So what are you going to do? I mean, so I look at this. There are columnists that write very well, and you're reading it and going, "What the fuck?" I mean, that's a very well written piece of garbage there, in my opinion. But nonetheless, it's convinced a lot of people. And look, I don't have all the answers. I don't claim to, but you should know something about the person that you're viewing or listening to, where they're coming from. I mean,
Well,
that was on. Well, go ahead, Louis.
Well, my take is, I'm sorry to interrupt. My
No,
take is on that. I actually, when you're with someone, I'm okay not talking politics with them because I don't want them to feel awkward. I don't want to feel awkward. I don't want to have to be touchy. So let's talk about things we feel comfortable talking about. But if we're just talking on a show, and I have friends that do this in the broadcasting, and I've lost a lot of respect for them, and it's fine. They've risen high and they're good people. But the idea of I never talk politics, just because you don't talk politics doesn't mean politics doesn't happen and doesn't affect you and doesn't affect the world. So when crazy shit's happening, like acts that were put in place to help everyone, it's not just black people, because Lyndon B. Johnson did it in 1965. No, they're to help minorities of all kinds.
Insulin prices, for example.
Old people,
classic.
Like, come on, like when stuff's put in place that is there to the medical stuff that Biden did for everyone, and it gets taken away for no reason, and no one explains it why they got taken away, and you don't talk about it, you look like a rube or a noob or a boob.
I mean, how can you sit there and go, geez, did you see that second quarter of the Heat game last night?
Come on, man.
Can you believe that? They were outscored 44-25 in the second quarter. What the
Just
fuck
because you
is that?
talk about the Knicks when they're marching down the street, it doesn't matter the fucking Knicks. Like, I'm sorry, I guess I forget this. See, you were raised this way too, and I think Mayo is too. I meet people that weren't. My wife has to remind me of this. Like the Holocaust, even though my family, it's weird. Like they didn't talk about the specific, and I wish they had, but they talked about enough that it made me intrigued to learn about it. So I've always been aware of the world, and it's weird to me that people weren't raised that way. That people are like, oh, that's not what's happening. Hello, like this, they literally. You joked, and there's nothing wrong with joking. He slept with the fucking Mein Kampf, and like that's literally been proven out. Like he's doing every single thing. Now he wants to get rid of MSNBC, the only one that they're not even that good at news anymore, but they sort of try a little. Like, no, they shouldn't exist. You can't criticize me. Like, what? What the fuck are you, dude? Like,
well, and you think about it. I mean, the fragile nature of your own existence, the fact that you're even here. Look, had it not been for the fact that my grandfather decided on, I think, what was the last boat that he could possibly get his family on to leave the free city of Danzig, which was a German consideration at the time. It was between Germany and Poland. I mentioned this a few times. And if he doesn't get on that boat, I'm not here. So, because the Holocaust was in full force immediately after that. And my mother still, to her grave, she really never got over that whole thing. Had to leave where she grew up, where she was very happy. Now she ended up living a great life. But think about that. I mean, and beyond that, then, of course, my father had to be introduced to my mother on a blind date because my mother was working with the wife of a friend of my father's at a button factory in New York. So, I mean, the odds of things happen, it's just like, I was talking to my son about this. I mean, the odds of me meeting his mother were like 0.0. And it's true all over the place. So, I mean, when you realize how There was such a distinct possibility that you wouldn't exist at all.
Exist,
There's
exactly.
nothing wrong with being at least observant of what the fuck is going on out there.
Yeah,
And
I'm not judging people and whatever. I'm trying. I'm trying not to, but it's like to see the things happening and then be asked questions like, okay, so someone criticizing you should get them thrown out. Yes.
and
Okay.
somebody who supported you in essentially a large criminal activity and an acts of violence against the government that you inspired and sat back and watched take place when you could have
Bingo.
easily put a stop to it at any time during those proceedings. On January 6th, Trump could have picked up the phone, tweeted out a message, hey, call it off. It's all over. I lost the election. Even if you didn't think I did, I don't believe it. But you know what? This isn't going to work. So let's get out.
Exactly. Even that part where even if he still wanted to hold on to the bullshit,
Right.
do your job. God damn it.
Well, have some semblance of humanity. I mean, that's all. And so anyway, so that's my position on it. I'm appalled, but I was reluctant because for so many. I mean, for the whole campaign in 2015 or whatever that was, all we heard was, "Hey, stop this!" Put a stop to it. The program director would have her face pinned to the glass there of the studio, which we had locked the door of, with that face on, where you're saying, "No shit." This isn't going well. But I think you do have to speak your mind. I don't know that you need to let it run your life.
No.
Because I remember telling you this when Trump got elected the first time. I said, you know what? I mean, there have been presidents that I thought were just god awful.
Mhm.
Mostly Republicans, in my opinion. But Reagan married us. I thought George Bush Jr. Maybe a decent guy, but totally inept. I mean, that look on his face when he first found out about 9/11 was, I told you all you needed to know about what this guy was going to be able to do to take command. Now, he's distinguished himself as a better human being since he was president. But while he was president, even Jimmy Carter, I mean, was
ass.
seemingly inept as a president.
Yes, but a good man.
Back, I don't know. Richard Nixon might have been more effective in terms of foreign policy than Jimmy Carter was.
Nixon was actually a good president. To be honest, he was just paranoid as fuck. He actually did decent things. I think he was a better president than Reagan. Like people love Reagan.
Oh yeah, Reagan was
internationally. Domestically, Reagan sucked. He's the one that started this bullshit that now is the Republican moniker, trickle down, which now literally is a fact and economic.
But it doesn't work.
Will tell you. No, it does. It just doesn't. Like corporations keep their money. People spend. You give people money, they don't keep it. Whether it's right or wrong, they spend it. When you give corporations money, they keep it. But anyways, so that's my thing is, but I can say what's wrong about Clinton. Like that's what I don't understand is not being able to be honest about reality. And that's my problem. What's happening right now in our face, whatever side you're on, you can't admit that this shit's fucking crazy. I don't care if you voted for him or not. I root for the Heat, but I can say Jimmy Butler's a loon, and you've heard me defend Jimmy Butler, and I love Jimmy Butler. It is what it is at times. Like you can love people and still criticize them. Like that's fucking life.
But somehow, no, when you're talking about in a sporting context, it's more along the lines of circus. It doesn't have the level of importance or impact. I mean, if your team loses every game, okay, so you're rooting for a lousy team. But if things get, laws and things that get reversed or have been already or attempted to are just bad in general and unfair to the the people that are impacted by it, which is a large majority, it seems, then it's worthy of mention. So where I sit now, I want to get out of this because I'm already uncomfortable thinking that people are looking and going, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Especially on a sports show,
yeah. And you came here to get the scores and the latest.
You'll get it. We'll get
but I don't mind mixing it in there. At the same time, I notice I don't comment at all on any right wing. Rhetoric that's and MAGA rhetoric. People that I'm friends with have put up all kinds of wonderful posts about Trump. I never say a thing on there. But should you silence yourself altogether? I mean, is that a bad position to take?
Yes. Sorry. The two things that I keep, and I've started a TikTok that's a Mike Lubitz TikTok to stay away from anything we do here and anything we do on the lunchbox, but I can't because I know people don't want to hear it.
You got into it with Tony Bruno, man. There was a big riff. You and Tony Bruno.
That was on TikTok, and that was on Twitter, and I actually didn't. He said some stuff, and I was like, "Come on!" And I didn't even fight him. I was just like begging him.
I was getting calls about you.
You can't be this because I idolize him so much, and it was because we always thought he was on our page, so it just hurt me.
Oh, you would have never figured that, yeah.
It hurt me. I wasn't even mad.
A lot of people. I mean, you just would have never figured it.
So I started this TikTok, and the two things that I feel right now, and we'll move on, are this. Okay, First, they came for the socialists. I'm not a socialist. First, then they came for the communists. I'm not a communist. Then they came for the trade unionists. I'm not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews. I'm not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to defend me. Whoever the hell you are, again, you pointed it out to me. He was the biggest rat ever. He was the most, his whole crew, and that's what it was. He treats them like a crew, right? They weren't a cabinet, they were a crew. His whole crew defended him, gave their lives for him. And he forgot. Some of these people had Rudy Giuliani had been there.
Look at this Michael Cohen.
Flynn, Cohen. 40 years they were defending this fucking guy, and the minute it was turning on him, he forgot they existed. So why do you think he cares about you? Like, that's my thing. You can vote wherever you want, but if you don't like politics, how do you not see him being the worst politician? And again, I know people don't want to hear this from us, and that's fine. But it's like, be realistic.
Glad I got you started because
I know. I'm sorry. Just be honest with yourself. I don't give a shit who you vote for. Be honest.
Yeah. I mean, as I've always said, and most of the guys that I know would be of the same opinion, which is, and if you're a guy's guy, that's one thing. And people gravitate towards people that have a lot of money or the appearance of having a lot of money. I've known many people that had all kinds of friends when it looked like they were filthy rich, and everybody was hanging out with them. And I might have even been guilty of doing some of that myself. Because let's face it, it's nice. Some guys passing out $100 bills at the Breezeway bar at the track. I mean, are you going to tell him to go fuck himself? But if you have any sense of nobility, I guess, in that regard, you're like, hey, I don't know you for your money. I know you because I think you're a good guy. That being said, the guy hands you a stick and or a ticket, a $50 exacta box on the 7-5. What are you going to do? Embarrass the guy and say, I can't accept this? No. If you win, maybe you go ahead and share the wealth with everybody. But the bottom line is, Trump was just the kind of guy that you would never want to know for those very reasons that you just pointed out. No one has turned on more people immediately.
His whole life.
Tiger Woods supposedly has that same characteristic where once you lose favor with him, that's it. You're out.
Yeah, but what's funny?
Let's get into some stuff here, Lubie, and because we got the professor coming up here in a couple of minutes.
Yes, sir.
All right, so. My friend Mike Jones, who does a couple of my Barry Your Bookie shows with me, usually on Thursday on NoFilter.net, and he's been red hot. The guy's on fire. He's like 9-3 in the postseason on the stuff that he's given out, which is a nice number. And most of the guys that we've had on that program have been winning. And the professor had a lousy college football season publicly handicapping, but he ended up winning money because he's a smart bettor.
Yes.
So, and it wasn't like one of those Hank Goldberg things where he went 0-5 on ESPN and then got on the radio on Monday. And I love Hank. Let me qualify that.
So, yeah.
Great to me. What was an irascible sort, and it was kind of like he had a little bit of Lou Grant in him, right? Where you're thinking, okay, is this guy really that angry all the time? But no, he had an endearing quality to him, and he shared that quality with me and several people that I know, including, of course, Tony Segreto, who we'll see later on today.
Yes.
But he would go on ESPN. You would see him go 0-5, right? You're 0-5. Right? He'd come on the show on Monday. Go, you know what? I went 0-5 on ESPN, but I won money this week. Well, why are you telling me that? I mean,
that doesn't help me.
Why didn't you share those good picks with the? And look, we know it can be a very difficult game, but this, I think, is a pattern that. And it's sad to say because it ties in with this mention of the Heat game, which we're trying to sort of transition into here. And Mike Jones says that bet every dime you have. He's seen something. Now, most guys are numbers guys. Like, well, you know what? They're 4-1 against the spread in games on a Tuesday night after a full moon. And when the temperature in Pensacola, when it snowed in Pensacola, you always got to factor that in. But he goes a little bit like I would. Hey, take a look at what you're seeing and make your assessment based on that. We always talk about that with scouts, how they always fuck up the draft and pick the wrong guys. And you're asking yourself, what did you miss? We saw the guy play in college. This guy was great. The other guy was not coming up big in spots that you would want him to, or was incapable of beating the best that were out there, even though he racked up marvelous numbers and looked sensational against lesser competition. You're saying that about Cam Ward. As a possible number one overall pick, which I believe he will be. Will he not? Cam Ward going to the Titans? Who do they have at quarterback? Nobody. They got Will Levis.
No, they need a quarterback. That's why, like, if it was one of these other teams, like the Patriots who just drafted May, I could see him not be one. 2 or 3 or 4 maybe, but the Titans need a quarterback, and he's the kind of guy that, and their expectations are low, so maybe they wouldn't expect the world of him right away, you know. So
He could be a very good pro. It's not out of the question.
no, he has the things that work. He's actually good size. He has a strong arm. He's athletic, which, as we talked about, is big in today's game. He may not be the best leader, as Tony said, but he's not a horrible leader. He's off the field, a good dude. Like he's
doesn't seem like he would be lacking in leadership qualities. I think part of leadership qualities is the notion that your team is going to rally around you, which it seemed like.
Yes,
they were very confident when he walked out there on the field that they had a chance to do something. No,
and you said the perfect word. He has the confidence, no matter good or bad, he's going to keep going. And he's not exactly a gunslinger. He just takes a little.
He has a great arm, I think. I really do.
He has a really strong arm. My issue is he takes a lot of chances, and those are the things that look, Josh Allen. Some guys weed it out of their system. Jameis Winston. Some guys don't. So that's my concern for him, but he at least fits the pro game. Like Shador,
sprinkle in the Cristobal factor,
and that doesn't.
That he was coached by Mario Cristobal, and now he's going to get professional coaching. Although, what's the status there in Tennessee?
I don't know.
They have. No, that was Carolina has the good young coach that actually rallied his team late in the season. Who's coaching Tennessee? Do we even know? I can't even think of the guy's name. That's how far at the bottom they are dwelling.
Ryan Callahan.
Oh, okay, and it was questionable whether he was coming back this year, and I think that was his first year there.
Yes, it was,
and it was horrendous. I mean, they couldn't have been any worse. But look, what coach is going to be great in the National Football League if he doesn't have a great quarterback, or at least a decent quarterback,
or a great GM? Then you need to at least have a great GM who gives you, like the Niners, who give you this great team, and then you can have a Purdy just game manage.
Yeah. All right, so the bottom line, the point was, and this was a position, and we're going to bring in a professor here in just a sec as well, but that my friend Mike Jones, he said from his observation, and also you can look at the fact that Jim Larrañaga left the team. I mean, how uncharacteristic would you say, Lubie, that was of what you know of Jim Larrañaga, that he would more or less, I don't know, can you say, he didn't really quit on his team, but the notion that he left because he thought that he just couldn't do it anymore did seem a little far-fetched. I mean, he thought that there was more to that, and that since they've made this transition,
it's horrendous.
They have completely checked out.
Yeah, they're horrendous. It's bad. Well, but if he can, and I'll let him speak for himself since he's standing by. But he's interesting. He's like, maybe Larrañaga, unlike Hamilton, who's just a fucking money-grubbing asshole, maybe Larrañaga had too much pride to just be surrounded by a shit team and let it sink his career. It's enough.
It's one of the reasons we look forward to every Friday. Get the thoughts and philosophies and opinions of the professor who joins us.
What's up, boys?
Good morning,
Professor,
sir.
how are you? I was trying to get to this point like a half hour ago when we started talking about Trump, which is a tough deviation or transition to get out of. And so, and my buddy was just saying that no matter what, even though the line,
which buddy was that said that?
Mike Jones. You might be familiar with him. What's that?
He doesn't know that. He was not going to know.
Mike Jones
from the late 90s.
Okay. That one I'm not familiar with, but that went over my head. Or under it, one way or another. He says that he's just looking at Miami, the fact that Larrañaga left the team. Maybe realizing that it was beyond hopeless, and that when that happened, a bad team got much worse even, and that there's just no life in this team, and that no matter what line they make, I think they play Cal in their next game on Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
And before even seeing the line, he was ready to put in a bet against the Hurricanes.
I did the same thing the other night against Stanford. I mean, I'm not laying 11 with Stanford against a convent. Okay, a lot of things there. Number one, are they actually worse now than when Larrañaga quit? Like,
I don't know. I wasn't following them that closely.
Pretty terrible before Larrañaga quit.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe there's a little downgrade. I mean, and they certainly haven't made any progress, which you would expect them to. But as Lubie and I were discussing, maybe that's precisely the reason Larrañaga quit. Maybe Larrañaga realized this group, it wasn't going to happen, and he didn't want to be around. I mean, look, and the guy coached for what, 30 some odd seasons, across a couple of jobs.
Yeah.
I mean, you get to an age where you're like, do I need to put up with this shit? I got a lot of money in the bank.
I'm at that age
I'm
now without the
well
money.
respected. Like, why the hell am I sticking around for this?
Yeah. But he was so dedicated. I mean, sometimes you meet a guy. I mean, look, a lot of people say things, and philosophically, it sounds fantastic and absolutely ideal. But I believe that Larinaga was true to that, and that he just loved the game so much. You could kind of tell, even in a way that he would go back and reminisce with us about guys that he played against in high school.
Okay, but in any venture in your life, don't you get to a point where, as much as you love something you do, it just starts to feel futile? And once it
Possibly,
does start to feel futile, you're like, well, what the hell am I doing this for?
14 years at 940 wins.
No, you and I, how many discussions have you and I had about talking to the wind? About
Yes.
like when you do this and you put a lot into it, and you spend a lot of time with prep and whatnot, and then you go and you call the phones and, hey, I got Disney World tickets to give away, and you get one call in an hour, and you get the feeling like literally nobody. Yes, and it's.
Was that our first call in 1470?
Yes,
was that the first
like
call?
Our first 8 calls, I think.
It was our only call every night for a while.
You start reaching a point where you're kind of banging your head against the wall about it, and depending on your age and your financial situation, it just might not be worth it anymore. And maybe
I can see that
with this team, that's where Larinaga got. And honestly, watching this team play, I wouldn't blame him for it.
So, I mean, and I told my buddy, I said, look, you're onto something. Everything has its period where it's working and successful. And, at one point you're going to get whacked. But this looks like one you could ride for a while, no, kid? I mean, and I'm thinking maybe the same thing might be true of the Miami Heat.
I mean, here's the problem: is you can eventually the numbers will catch up.
Like
it's already, what was it, 11 at a not so good Stanford team the other night. It'll probably be somewhere around there for a pretty rotten Cal team. They lost by 30 to Stanford. If they do it again to Cal, the next games, it's probably going to be like 15 or 16. And by the end of the year, it'll be like, who was it? It was PC and Blake and I were talking about this the other night about Houston. Because I don't know if you watch it. Unless they are playing a ranked team, Houston gets some wild fucking lines at this point. Okay. And the reason is because they smoke bad teams over and over and over again. And they've been doing it for like 5 years now. So when Houston gets like a UCF, who's kind of in the Big 12 and unranked, the line was like 26 the other night. And Houston won by 36. No, it wasn't UCF. It was Utah. Excuse me. And Utah is not they're terrible. But it was like a 26-point game for a conference game. Like that's not standard. But we were talking about, and it's because, particularly in their home court, when Houston plays somebody bad, they just choke them out defensively. And I think the score at halftime the other night was 41-17, and the final score was something like 74-38 or something like that. And it's not going to have to be much of an offensive performance for Houston to cover a 20-point number when they're holding teams into the 30s and 40s consistently. And by the end of the year, it'll get like that for Miami. And we'll see the ACC tournament where they're playing somebody not so good, somebody middle of the pack in the first round, and it's still going to be like a 28-point line. I mean, that's the progression of how the business works.
Capitalizing on other people's misery is a great aspect of being a degenerate too, because you see this thing going in a
horse
tank.
Player, you should know. Like every time you go up to cash a ticket, there's like 200 people around you throwing their,
how do you have that
tickets into the garbage and cursing you for winning? And
people are very resentful about other people winning. That's for sure. All right, we're going to come back with the professor, some big board action, maybe some college basketball picks. I don't know if you have thoughts on the NFL conference championship games, but we certainly would entertain those. And we'll come back with the professor and a big board in a moment. Now that
the time
highlight of my week, the professor's big board. It's 8:38.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-45.
We have the professor with us, and we want to accomplish many things here. Mike Lubie, of course, has stated his position on last night's Dolphin game, angry with all of these social media posts about Brian Flores, which, Professor, I mean, looming very large right now is the fact that you, had what appeared to me or sounded like
Right?
just an absurd
I get a
conspiracy
little
theory.
like Lubie's getting angry.
Yeah.
I get angry that Stephen Ross and the Dolphins let Ryan fucking Fitzpatrick into the building to spread his lucky charms magic.
Oh my God,
And
you're right. Oh no.
First fucking time they do it, Tua goes down with a concussion. It's probably a career ender. I mean, like, how do you let that piece of shit into the fucking building?
Good for you, Ken. I didn't even think about that.
The fucking cops arrest Tyreek Hill, but you let Ryan Fitzpatrick run around the city. Do your fucking job, Miami-Dade police. The minute that fucking Lucky Charms motherfucker showed up in the city, he should have been thrown in fucking prison. Like, how do you let that piece of garbage into your fucking building, Ross? I mean, the man spent 2 years along with Flores trying to kill Tua. And the first time he shows up, what happens? Like, I can't believe you let that scumbag into the building. Like, unbelievable.
Bad omen. No doubt about it. Bad sign.
The best way to kick off your day is with Defo plus Lubie. We now return to the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. Professor Big Boaqrd here. Anything else you want to add before we get into it, Professor?
I mean, you know, it's been an interesting week. It always is in the world of sports. I heard you talking about Cam Ward. One of my favorite personal concerns about the draft is popping up with Cam Ward, and that is a concern that he has small hands. That he's like that guy in the Burger King commercial whose hands, or like our current president, who's very sensitive about his small hands. There's a kid. I wonder, honestly, because we did see Trump get involved, you know, with the NFL a few years back. I wonder if Trump is going to stick up for people with small hands when, you know, people voice that concern about Cam Ward. So we'll see. I don't know if he'll do the combine or if he'll do a pro day. My guess would be he'd do a pro day. We'll see what his hand measurement turns out to be. But that seems to be the primary concern I'm reading from scouts on Cam Ward at the moment. It's my second favorite, by the way, NFL. And that's the second one with receivers and tight ends when they talk about T-Rex arms. They talk about he's got little bitty arms that don't go out that far. And it precludes his catch radius because he's got arms like a T-Rex.
Yeah. Never mind that you watched him make any number of sensational catches.
Well, honestly, the guy who that really became a thing because I guess his arms are actually unusually short is Zach Ertz, and it has not hurt his career in the least. Of course, you know, went to a couple Pro Bowls and won a Super Bowl with Philly, and now is like the guy Jaden Daniels looks to on every third down and red zone situation for Washington.
Who was the last guy? There was much ado about nothing, it turned out, with the last guy that was being scrutinized, a quarterback, heavily for having small hands, and I can't remember for the life of me who it was.
The one that really freaked people out because apparently he had like Carney-sized hands was Alex Smith, but it didn't stop the 49ers from taking him in the first round. Of course, for like the first 6 years of his career, he was a famous fumbler who, you know, the small hands thing kept coming up because he fumbled a lot. And The legendary one, which interestingly, Lubie and I were mentioning last night, was Seattle's Dave Craig, who was, I think, still the leading all-time fumbler in the pocket, and had like the smallest hands in the history of the combine when he was drafted back in like the early '80s.
And managed to carve out a reasonably respectable professional career,
He
no doubt
did,
about
but
it.
again, the small hands thing came up because he fumbled a lot when he got hit from behind. He fumbled seemingly every time, and supposedly it was due to his Donald Trump-esque itty bitty hands.
Based on that, though, our good friend, may he rest in peace, Vito.
Like when Donald Trump does the diamond cutter,
I
it's only about 0.5 carats because his.
think he's using some kind of prosthetics, though, to extend his fingers. So looks like he might have a bigger schlong. I don't know. Ask Stormy Daniels about that. She wasn't particularly flattering when it came to that category. All right. You want to get into big board here, Professor? And
I just want to tell Donald Trump, like all guys, big hands, big feet, 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
He was all over his Secretary of State. He doesn't mention that anymore about Rubio. It never makes that illusion. All right, let's get into it. Let's get it on, as Mills Lane would say. The big board, the professor for a Degenerate Friday.
Okay.
Oh, there you go. Perfect.
We're going right to the big board. We're not doing college basketball.
Oh, yeah, we'll get into that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll do the big board first.
Let's do the board, and then we'll give some games. Okay.
And since we are talking about Donald Trump, we wanted to celebrate the inauguration with everybody else, but we do everything through the lens of the world of sports. So we wanted to spin the world of sports at the Donald Trump inauguration. And there were a lot of people there. It wasn't just Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown. In fact, Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown didn't even make the big board because I couldn't find a picture of them at the inauguration. I assume because when you get a couple retards in a car, they couldn't find the White House. They ended up at a Burger King in downtown Washington because they both got confused trying to follow when Siri tells them to make a right, they're not necessarily going to make that right.
They don't believe in fake news.
Yeah. The word retard is a bit harsh.
Yes, and
this character.
Okay, excuse me.
Certainly don't mean to
Two
offend
people suffering from post-concussion syndrome.
Yeah.
CTE.
Impaired.
Significant,
Influenced.
significantly. 2 people who Vontez Perfect did permanent brain damage to.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't feel bad using. I don't think Antonio Brown in particular was necessarily the world's brightest guy.
It's your favorite line in the Rocky movie. I mean, I know that. And how did that get by the board of censors?
Well, it was in the 70s.
Well, also, I honestly, I was just getting with the spirit of the day. I thought that word is allowed now. I thought we were allowed to use all those words that we stopped using for 30 years because that was a big political problem in America.
Okay.
It seemed a little bit, disparaging, no?
Yeah, obviously.
I mean,
being a piece of work.
All right. We're going to get away from that.
Stop debating that word. Anyway, as you know, everything has to be the world of sports. And I found a connection to use the picture I really wanted to use. And that is number 5. Mark Zuckerberg spent the whole inauguration looking at Tony Gonzalez's baby's mama's chest. Tony Gonzalez's baby mama happens to now be married to Jeff Bezos.
Yes.
But yeah, Zuck checking her out, which it's more interesting than most of those freaking speeches, if I'm going to be honest about it.
But those are 2 basketballs, though.
Yeah, if a woman dresses like that and happens to be built like her, and is sitting next to me at the inauguration, and she's competing for time with JD freaking Vance. I know which way my attention's going to be drawn to, so I can't really hate on Mark Zuckerberg here. But this probably the most famous picture of the inauguration was Mark. But here's what I want to say, because we have all seen over the last 5 years that there's a great line that $1 billion allows you to be whatever it is you want to be in life, and we've seen.
Sure.
The evolution, which is Mark Zuckerberg wants to be every frat douchebag on the planet. Jeff Bezos wants to be Pitbull. If you've seen Jeff Bezos,
he really does.
in the last few years, he is slowly transforming himself into Pitbull. All he's missing is the Spanish, and his girlfriend is Latina now, so he may be learning it.
Yep.
All I'm going to say is Bezos, Pitbull would not have put up with this.
Oh no.
How about the guy behind Zuckerberg, though?
Yeah, that guy's going out of his way to look.
Pitbull would have screamed Dale and immediately started to fight Zuckerberg,
He's from Miami.
Brazilian jiu-jitsu style, right there in the aisle of the inauguration. So if you're turning yourself into Pitbull, Bezos, you need to throw hands there, right? Like, you can't just let Zuckerberg get away with this.
Should be throwing some punches, no doubt.
Exactly.
So, I'm just saying, Dale, time to go.
And if a fight had broken out there among the billionaire row, I think Trump would have embraced it.
Oh yeah, he would have.
Look how much they love me. Waiting for a better view. Who's the guy behind the?
I have no idea who that is behind, but yes, he's
hopefully
enjoying
not a
the view as
future,
well.
cabinet member. All right, but I mean, who could blame him? It is remarkable the enhancement that has been done with Sanchez. Because
well, no, it's incredible. All the enhancements that all these people have done. Again, Zuckerberg went from the biggest geek on a planet to a guy who can walk into the Zeta Peta Thigh house, any campus in America. Bezos, as we said, is basically Pitbull at this point, and they're both from Miami. And Elon Musk has turned himself into a Bond villain. Like, is there any doubt at some point we're going to cut to a shot of Elon and he's going to be stroking a fluffy white cat talking about the doomsday machine?
Dr. No. All right, that's number 5. Zuckerberg
Number
checking
4.
out Tony Gonzalez' baby mama.
Number 4. Wayne Gretzky will do anything to get away from his wife and daughter, and I don't blame him. We talked about this a few years, or maybe a year or two ago, in the Deadpool, whereas, there's at least a 14% chance that Wayne Gretzky will eat a shotgun rather than put up with Janet Jones and his daughter for one more day.
Yes.
And now, just number one, look at the picture. He doesn't even look like Wayne Gretzky anymore.
No.
Janet Jones and his daughter have so worn this poor man out. Like, he used to be the most important and popular and coolest person in Canada, and now he's just a dude who shows up in a sweater vest to the Trump inauguration. Why? Because he just wants to get away from his fucking wife. Like,
There's a strange presence too on the TNT analysis that he does.
He doesn't really
honestly,
sing.
wherever it is Wayne Gretzky lives, I know, he has a house in Jupiter. I think he still has a place in Phoenix. You could picture Wayne Gretzky on a Saturday night hanging out at the bar at a Buffalo Wild Wings by himself. He's like, I had to get out of that fucking house, man.
He looks like he's starting to turn into a little bit of Tupperware too.
My wife is talking about her fucking single game parlays since these goddamn websites open. My daughter's taking 3,000 Instagram pictures of herself and doing TikTok dances. I had to just get out of here and watch the fucking game.
All right, the great
Give
one.
me another order of hot wings.
That's number 4. Number 3.
Number 3, Miriam Adelson, the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, and apparently a woman who robbed Jimi Hendrix's grave to dress for this. I know Melania Trump has made dressing like cartoon and movie characters a thing for women, when she showed up looking like a cartoon weasel who secretly wants to kill Roger Rabbit, hiding in a human suit. But you're 70 years old and you stole John Lennon's fucking outfit. Like, what the fuck? I mean, what is this look there, Miriam Adelson? I'm not even trying to get into your politics. Miriam Adelson, for those who don't know, is the wife of Sheldon, or the widow of Sheldon Adelson, the Las Vegas magnate who was Donald Trump's number one donor. And before that, blocked Donald Trump from getting a casino license in Las Vegas. So they had, I would say, a complicated relationship. And she now owns the Dallas Mavericks. And I don't even know what to say about it. You show up to a formal event dressed like this when you're 70 years old.
Yeah. You're
what am I
expecting the
missing
Snarky, to come in next.
Honestly, this is something I would expect you and Jersey Kyle to dress like at Vince's wedding.
It was a costume party at the Tiki Bar.
Not a woman with a few billion, like $32 billion showed up you know what? I was watching a Prince concert last night, and I thought, wouldn't that look good in all white?
Yeah, I wish they could pan down a little bit. and you could have seen whether she was wearing like white fur boots.
Right?
To go along with that.
Again, as I say in the comments, it looks like he thought the event was a reshoot of the Sgt. Pepper's cover.
Classic. All right, that's number 3. Trump
Number
inauguration
2,
highlights. Yes.
easily the most baffling one to me. I really have no idea what the fuck happened here. Evander Kane, a black Canadian hockey player, showed up to Donald Trump's inauguration. What the hell happened? Did he get lost? Did he get accidentally invited? Like, why the hell was Evander Kane at the Donald Trump inauguration? I mean, honestly, all he's got to do is be gay, and this election is exactly who this administration is after.
Yes.
Like,
Black.
Is that Joy Taylor on his arm?
no, it's not Joy Taylor. It's a woman who looks a lot like Joy
She's
Taylor
great looking.
with her peanut butter skin and her.
Oh, Jesus, Whitlock.
But seriously, like, random Edmonton Oiler black hockey player who's Canadian. Like, did you show up to give Donald Trump a check for half your money for the tariffs? Like, and he plays for a team called the Oilers, the Edmonton Oilers, an industry Donald Trump is actively seeking to damage with his tariff policy that starts on February the 1st. Like, I know what the hell was Evander Kane doing at this thing? Like, how did he get invited? Like, who in the administration was like, who we should invite? That black guy who plays forward for the Edmonton Oilers.
Big hockey presence too.
But I would again. Gretzky just wanted to get out of the house.
Yes,
I can't blame him for it. And Trump is trying to get Gretzky apparently to run for the Prime Minister of Canada, but I don't think he's proposing Evander Kane for any cabinet positions.
Unlikely.
I again, like, did you get lost? Like, you're like, oh, there's a party over there. Let's go crash it. Like, how do you end up at this thing?
Based on the complexion of the cabinet and his various nominees, you would have to.
I'm not even talking about the race angle. It's that you're black and a Canadian hockey player.
All right, that's number 2 on the list. Evander Kane. Did he get lost? Number 1.
Really, I think the caption says it all. The Paul brothers and Conor McGregor.
Oh, Jesus.
ISIS runs a goddamn truck through the Sugar Bowl, but you couldn't knock over this party bus. And if you're going to say that's in bad taste, would anyone actually miss the Paul brothers and Conor? Aren't these 3 just the representatives of the fall of society? Whether you're liberal or conservative, does anybody like any of these people? I mean, the Paul brothers, who got famous off of the sort of annoying social media that we're trying to ban in TikTok, which is a Trump policy I absolutely approve of. Anything that gets rid of TikTok is 100% fine with me. And the Lucky Charms guy, who, I mean, really, if I should send this picture to Webster's so they have something to put with douchebag. I mean, does anybody like any of these people at this job? I know, like 10 years ago, they were all incredibly popular with little kids because, Conor McGregor is only 5'2", so he reminds them of themselves. And the Paul brothers, the Paul brothers, who I don't know, were there to cheer on Elon when he did the Nazi salute, because look at him. I mean, the worst people on earth. I can't think of anybody in any venture who likes any of these people. So where the hell is Al Qaeda when you need them?
This you're probably not seeing on Fox News. This particular.
I don't even think Fox
editorial.
News likes the Paul brothers or Conor. I don't think Sean Hannity's hanging out with these people. I think even those people would. I think Megyn Kelly would be like, "What a pack of douches."
Like, and there was some bad news for boxing fans and the fans of the Jake Paul boxing campaign, and that was that he actually was signed to fight Jimmy Carter before he checked out.
Oh, Jesus.
They had a contract in place as soon as Carter went into hospice. And,
but I mean, this is the thing. The Jake Paul boxing career is based entirely on the fact that everybody hates him and wants to see him get beaten up. Like, if
Yes.
not for that, he would have no boxing career.
At least that's what I
People
thought.
aren't tuning in to watch Jake Paul fight.
No.
People are tuning in hoping Jake Paul gets Dooku Kimmed in the ring.
Well, let's hope it doesn't go that far, but nonetheless,
I
yeah,
got
you're right. Everybody wants to see this guy get dusted, and they thought maybe Tyson off those phony videos that were made.
That was the
Those
whole
are
hope.
generated by artificial intelligence. Tyson looking like a monster in the gym there.
Again, like if Jake Paul fought a gorilla, a literal gorilla who's going to tear him limb from limb, and it was a certainty, it would be the highest rated Jake Paul thing ever. If Jake
People
Paul
didn't even
fought
notice.
if Jake Paul fought a grizzly bear, it would be like 2 billion people would turn. It would
Yeah.
it would break the World Cup worldwide records.
People didn't notice in those videos of Tyson looking great in the gym that there was a living Customato in the background encouraging him. As if pummeling Kevin Rooney, who was wearing the body armor that they wear when guys are going through that kind of exercise. All right, a couple of quick college games, if you will, Professor, and then we'll get people to make some money, and I'll see you on Bury Your Bookie. I hope you can reprise this. I think it's perfect for nofilter.net, by the way, where
Okay.
you're
Number
gaining
one
immense
tonight,
popularity. Yes.
UCLA laying 6.5. Washington. It's not as dramatic as Miami, but another team that is absolutely falling apart at the seams. They've lost 5 in a row. Haven't won since January 2nd, and that wasn't all that impressive a win. UCLA, a team I like, and on a pretty good roll. They are on the road here, but they're coming off of a nice win over Wisconsin, sitting at 13-6 in the season. They had a little downswing themselves, but seemed like they've gotten over it with consecutive wins over Iowa and Wisconsin. Washington is busting apart at the seam, like the Bruins here tonight in college basketball. And then tomorrow, we had a game marked. Let me find it real quick.
You're going against Miami. I think they played
another one tonight, actually. And that is Villanova getting 9 and a hook from Marquette. Both good basketball teams. Villanova, I think, pretty underrated at this point in the season against the Marquette team that is a nice team offensively, but does not play a lot of defense. And against a team that shoots as well as the Wildcats, that's usually a problem. So, and not good at playing the slower pace games. Just lost to Xavier the other day, 59-57. If you can keep Marquette under 80, they're usually very vulnerable to, not just a non-cover, but possibly even a little bit of an upset alert here.
Holy shaka smart. Unbelievable. All right, good stuff all the way around, Professor. We'll see you in a few minutes here. I think I sent you the link. I hope you got it.
I did.
For Bury Your Bookie. And then, if you can reassemble this thing, that'd be awesome because it's become a very popular item on that particular show, as it is here. So we'll see you in a few. He'll on his way to Spain, and you're going to try and experiment in terror and try and demonstrate to me how I can
That'll be all right.
initialize the show next week. Which
You'll be fine.
try to do because we want to keep the momentum going with the Bleacher Brothers, new audience there, and of course, it's good as Professor was alluding to. Maybe you got enough money to check out and retire, and so you're saying, well, I'll just walk away from what I feel is a negative situation. It's draining me, but I am not in that position, Lubie. So got to keep driving to the wire. So hopefully we'll be able to pull that off. You say it's simple somehow. We'll see what happens with that. But a nice raw version. We may be missing a few of our highlighted production elements, theme music and things of that nature, but still be fun. So we'll see you next time on the Defo Show. Lubie, you have a good time in Spain. We'll see you later on out at the track.
Yes, sir.
Big weekend coming up at Gulfstream Park with the Pegasus. See, the average daily track guy, I don't know. I mean, I enjoy these big stakes days, but I was not looking forward. I usually don't like to go to these kind of events anymore.
Mhm.
And a lot of the regulars, of course, are scared off by the $100 price tag it is to get in, which I don't want to be down a stick before I walk into a track, no matter how magnificent the scene might be. That's a little steep for me. I guess if I had to pay to get into the Kentucky Derby, couldn't weasel my way in for free, I'd probably fork over the money if I was inclined to go. But on this one, I would take a pass through. But I think I am going to be out there with the Bleacher Brothers doing a live broadcast. So
there you go.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But I've already kind of put in a word that I would like to get there real early when the show starts and exit right away before the crowd starts coming in. All right, we will see you later on. Thanks so much for being with us. You can catch on nofilter.net. All you have to do is it's a free subscription. Punch your way on. catch our shows there. They get underway 9:15 every morning and run till about 9:45. So, and they're up there all day. A lot of good betting stuff. Our guys been hot. So that's been working out real well for a lot of people. And we'll see you next time. Have a great weekend, everybody, as we leave you know that.
The time.
It's 9:03.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.